Hi and welcome to our YouTube channel. My name is Linda. I am the owner of SchminkenGrime, a special effects makeup store in the Netherlands. And in today's video we are going to play around with on-skin silicone or Sculpt Gel. So last video we did wax, and the video before that we did rigid collodion, and in this Halloween series I'm just gonna play around with the basic materials you can create 3D effects with on the skin. So Sculpt Gel is an on-skin silicone and it is available in two different colors. There is a flesh tone and there is a clear. So flesh tone is kind of a purplish flesh tone, it's light flesh tone, and the clear isn't completely clear, it's kind of a milky clear color, but those are the two colors. And there are also two sizes available with the Sculpt Gel. There is a small one, this is 150 grams, and there is a big one, and this one is 300 grams. And in my opinion, working with Sculpt Gel is absolutely amazing. If you are new to working with Sculpt Gel, I would probably recommend you to use the flesh tone Sculpt Gel because it's easier to see what you are doing on the skin. And if you are going to work with Sculpt Gel, there are a few products you will need to really get your Sculpt Gel on the skin and make wounds or effects with it. So basically you need the Sculpt Gel. Obviously you will need a spatula to apply it and sculpt with it on the skin. I have a mixing palette to mix the different components of Sculpt Gel and make it into the product that you can actually put on the skin. You will need some alcohol. I've got 99.9% to blend the edges and make the Sculpt Gel not stick to your spatula. I have a setting powder. This is the Neutral Set Powder by Ben Nye, and I also have some alcohol activated makeup palettes by Encore, and obviously some fake bloods because we are going to create a wound today. So important when you're going to work with Sculpt Gel is that you don't mix the components in the pots they come in. If you put any of the A in the B or the B in the A, the silicone will set in the jars and you will have to throw it away, and it is kind of an expensive on-skin effects product, so that would be a waste. So if you're gonna use the Sculpt Gel and you want to get it from the pots, you can either use tongue depressors and just use a different tongue depressor per pot, or you can use your spatula, but make sure you thoroughly clean it before you go on to the next pot. So I'm going to scoop a little bit of all three of these components on a mixing palette, and make sure you have equal amounts of the A, B and C on your mixing palette. So the A and the B make the silicone, it sets and it makes the effects on the skin, but the C is a deadener. It makes the silicone softer once it's set and it makes it able to move with your skin. So if you are putting something, for instance, on the moving part of your face or in your neck where the skin also moves a lot, the C component makes it possible for the silicone to move with your skin. So the more of the C you add, the softer the silicone will be, but also the longer it will take to set on the skin. I usually just put equal amounts of every component on the mixing palette because then all of the jars will be empty at the same time. So you want to thoroughly mix all of those components together. And the result of mixing it is kind of a light skin tone with a purplish undertone, and it is perfect for light skin if you have a color like this one. It's very easy to get into a skin tone. So the Sculpt Gel is flexible and you can put it kind of anywhere, but as always the area directly around your mouth is kind of tricky. So I would put it anywhere but not in the area a few centimeters around your mouth, because it will get loose and your makeup effect will be damaged. So let's once again make a wound on the cheek. I did that last time with the wax, and the previous video with the rigid collodion I also did on my cheek. So the Sculpt Gel is kind of thinner than the wax was we used last week, but it does keep its form. It doesn't really run down your skin, and you don't need that much. So I put kind of a lot on my skin already, and I'm just quickly going to clean off my spatula. to make the basic layer of my Sculpt Gel. So to prevent the Sculpt Gel from sticking to my spatula, I'm going to put a little bit of alcohol in a cup and dip my spatula in there so I can freely work with my spatula on the Sculpt Gel without it sticking to my spatula. So for now we're going to make a wound, but if you want to make large things like a witch's nose or new brows, you can also do that with Sculpt Gel. But if you make a very thick layer on your skin with the Sculpt Gel, gravity will grab it and it will just fall down. So if you want to make really large things with Sculpt Gel, you have to layer it. So you make a kind of a centimeter high layer of what you want to do, wait for the Sculpt Gel to dry, and then just add on with new layers of Sculpt Gel. It takes longer, but it is very possible to do multiple layers over each other. So it's very easy to blend Sculpt Gel on the skin. Just work from the inside out and drag it along until there is no more edge. And when you think, well, this might be it, you do want to put a little skin texture on the Sculpt Gel, because otherwise you have all the pores in your skin and then you have that flat silicone layer on there. And the way I create that skin tone is with a stipple sponge. I dipped this one in alcohol as well, and now with that sponge I'm going to stipple over the Sculpt Gel. So if it's really soft, your Sculpt Gel, the effect might disappear because it isn't set enough. You just want to keep stippling over it until you can see that it kind of holds its form. So if you're going to work with Sculpt Gel, there is a time limit in which you can work. Once you have started mixing it, it has a limited time before it sets and the effect is done. Usually it is about 10 minutes with just room temperature, and you have roughly 10 minutes. If it's warmer, the time will be shorter. If it's colder, the time will be longer. And the more of the C component you add, the longer the time will be. If you don't put any of the C component in there, there is less time for you to sculpt your wound. Knowing how much time you have isn't really that clear with Sculpt Gel, but if you work with it a lot, you can get a feel of how much time you have depending on where you are. So I'm switching to the pointy side of the spatula to create the wound. And like last time, I'm just going to create a cut wound, but you can go really creative with the Sculpt Gel. You can go really creative with any of the Sfx products. Obviously, you can just create anything you can think of. I'm going to create a cut wound. So my Sculpt Gel set kind of quickly today. Probably I have been talking to the camera too much and wasn't quick enough with my spatula to create the wound. But there is a wound on there. I would have liked to do a bit more to it, but well, it is okay. There is a wound and we can definitely finish this look. So if you want to know if the Sculpt Gel has set, do not touch your skin, because then you will ruin your effect if it hasn't set already. Probably you have a little bit of the Sculpt Gel left over on a very cold mixing palette. So if this one has set on your skin, it has definitely set because you have the temperature of your skin. So if I touch this, I can still kind of move it around, but it has almost set. So I'm gonna give it just another minute, and in that minute I will try to get a little bit more out of this wound. On my skin it has set completely. So the Sculpt Gel is a silicone, and the silicone is shiny, and we do want to get rid of that shine, and we also want to make it easier to get color on the skin. So that is why I have the neutral set powder by Benai. I will put this over the Sculpt Gel to mattify all of the shine of that silicone. So I have the Skin Cover Up palette, the Encore Skin Cover Up palette. This one is by European Body Art, and this one is with light skin tones. It has that olive color and the red tones we usually have in our cheeks. And with this palette, I'm just quickly going to put a skin tone on there. It doesn't have to be perfect, as this is a wound. There will be blood surrounding the wound, and well, you can get away with not exactly matching your skin tone. So I am going to use the lightest skin tone that is in this palette and just switching to the Sfx palette. There it is. There are some lovely red tones in there, and they are going to be the inside of the wound. There you have it. Onto the bloods. I have the Form Gel Blood by the Dark Arts Company in the color Classic, and I have the Venial Blood by Mold Life. So these are light red, or not light red, but realistic blood red looking bloods, I'm so sorry, to make a fresh wound. If you would take a dark or an aged color, the color will be more brownish and it would suggest an darker blood. So if you have a fresh wound, the classic, the arterial, the venial bloods would be the blood for you. First up, I'm going to put the Form Gel Blood in the wound. It has an amazing texture. I'm going to try to show you. So it's kind of a stringy blood which you can really play around with in a wound. So my wound isn't that large, so I might be fighting with it a little bit, but we are going to try and put it in that wound. And now with the pointy side of the spatula, I'm gonna try and spread it in there. So don't fill out the entire wound with blood. That doesn't look good, but it does look fun if you have a little bit of texture in there. So I'm gonna try. And then I will put a little bit of that venial blood in a cup so I can easily work with it. There is a nice pointy lid on this bottle of blood, so you could actually directly put it on the skin if you would want, but in my personal experience, if you do this, too much blood comes out of that bottle at once and you have blood everywhere where you don't want it. So I always put it just in a little mixing cup and take a detailed brush to put the blood exactly where I want to have it. Now I do want some blood coming out of that wound. Let's see if it will run down by itself or if I have to help it. So just put enough in the wound, make a build up, and just let it go. If you don't like what you see, you can just remove it again. And there it is, a wound created with Sculpt Gel, and if I would wear this one to a party, I wouldn't worry at all. This will stay on your skin in the shape you put it in for as long as you want, and if you want to remove it, it is actually pretty easy to remove again. To remove the Sculpt Gel from the skin again, you can just peel it off with your fingers or you can use the spatula. So this is what I am going to do. I'm just gonna start at the beginning of the wound and scrape over it to remove it, and as you can see, the silicone easily removes once you want it to go, so you can just get the entire wound from your skin at once if you want to. So the Sculpt Gel on my skin is kind of sticky still. It is completely set, but it is just a bit sticky. So what I'm gonna do is get that baby wipe and just roll it over the skin to remove that Sculpt Gel. And as you can see, it's easy enough to remove that Sculpt Gel from the skin again. And with that, we are at the end of today's video. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel in the link below to stay tuned on all our videos. For now, I wish you a wonderful day and I hope to see you back here next time.